Our lesson for tonight is called Adding Fractions with Different Denominators. Our essential question is, how can I add fractions with unlike denominators? Now, we don't have pages in our Go Math book because this is a 5th grade sneak peek, so you'll be working in your note packet. Make sure that you're taking notes with me on Video 1, Lesson 1, How Can I Add Fractions with Unlike Denominators? Please write your essential question at the top of your notes. Here's our first problem. Malia bought shell beads and glass beads to weave into designs in her baskets. She bought 1/4 pound of shell beads and 3/8 pound of glass beads. How many pounds of beads did she buy? So this is an addition problem because it says how many pounds. So I need to combine my 1/4 pound of shell beads and my 3/8 pound of glass beads, and I need to add them together to see how many pounds of shell beads she bought altogether. So we need to add 1/4 plus 3/8. Now it's written horizontally here, but we can write it vertically because it's easier for us that way. Okay, here's the problem written vertically. 1/4 plus 3/8. Now, you're noticing that my denominators are different. I have a 1/4 and a 3/8. So I cannot add these fractions this way. I have to find common denominators. I have to make the denominators the same. Now, the best way for me to do this is to find the least common multiple. So I'm going to write the multiples of my denominators and find the smallest one that they have in common. So let's start with our 4. Remember, multiples are your counting numbers. So if my multiples of 4 would be 4, 8, 12. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to do my 8s now. Multiples of 8 would be 8, 16. Now I'm going to stop there with my multiples of 8. Now I have to find the one that they have in common that's the smallest multiple. Now I can see that the smallest multiple that they have in common is 8. So I'm going to make an equivalent fraction for each one that has a denominator of 8. So let's start with our 1/4. Now, 1/4 equals how many eighths? Well, I know that 4 times 2 is 8. And whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator. So I have to multiply it by 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. So 2/8 would be equivalent to 1/4. Now, let's look at my 3/8. Well, I don't have to do anything to 3/8 because it already has a denominator of 8. So I'm just going to bring it over. Now, I can add because I have 2/8 and 3/8, same denominators. So all I need to do is just add my numerators. 2 plus 3 is 5. Keep my denominator the same. 5/8 is my answer. Okay, here's our next problem. Hilary is making a tote bag for her friend. She uses 1/2 yard of blue fabric and 1/4 yard of red fabric. How much fabric does Hilary use? How much fabric? So I need to combine the 1/2 yard of blue fabric and the 1/4 yard of red fabric. That means it's an addition problem. Now, I want you to write this one down in your notes with me. So we have 1/2, and let's write it vertically, plus 1/4. Now, we need to add these together, but look at your denominators. They are not the same. We cannot add them if they're not the same. We have to change it. So we have to find the common denominators. And to find common denominators, we need to find the common multiples of 2 and 4, the least common multiple. Let's start with our 2's. So we have to find the multiples of 2. Let's count by 2's. 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm going to stop there. Let's do our 4's now. 4, 8, 12. Now I can stop there. I can already see that the common multiples of 2 and 4 are 4 and 8. But remember, I want the smallest multiple possible. So that would be my 4. That's the least common multiple that they have. Well, looking at my 1/4, I don't have to change it. It already has a denominator of 4. So let's just bring him over. But let's look at our 1/2. It needs to equal a fraction with the denominator of 4. So let's find our numerator. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 times 2 is 2. 1/2 is equal to 2/4 because 2 is half of 4. Now I can add because I have 4 as my denominator, and they're the same, so I can add my fractions. 2/4 plus 1/4 is 3/4. So she needs 3/4, or she will use 3/4 yards of fabric. Here's the next problem. Maya mixes trail mix by combining, that's a key word, 1/3 cup of mixed nuts and 1/4 cup of dried fruit. What is the total amount of ingredients in her trail mix? So a lot of keywords telling me that I need to add. So let's write our problem. 1/3 cup of mixed nuts and 1/4 cup of dried fruit. I need to combine those measurements. Now, I would like you to try this question on your own. Notice that you're going to add, but you have to find the common denominators first before you can add your fractions because they're not the same. So go ahead and pause the video and work out this problem in your notes and press play when you're ready to go over it with me. Okay, now I needed to find the least common multiple. That will be my denominator for both of my fractions. So if you look here, I already listed my multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And I listed my multiples of 4, 4, 8, 12, 16. Now I need to find the smallest multiple that they have in common. I can see that that is 12. So both of my fractions need to be out of 12s. I need to find what's equal to both of them that's out of 12s. Well, let's see. If I have 3 and I need to get to 12, that means I needed to multiply by 4. Whatever I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. So 1 times 4 is 4/12. Let's look at my 1/4. I needed to multiply by 3 to get from 4 to 12. 4 times 3 is 12. So 1 times 3 is 3. Now, I can add my 4/12 and my 3/12 because they have the same denominator. 4 plus 3 is 7, and my denominator stays the 12. So 7/12 is my answer. I hope you got that right. Okay, here are your 2 homework problems that I want you to work on. Number 1 says 4/6 plus 1/4. And number 2 is 2/3 plus 3/9. Please write these homework questions down in your notes and work them out. Notice that you have to find common denominators, so you have to find the least common multiple and change it. Go ahead and work these out, and we'll check these tomorrow. Bye!